We're continuing on Chav Zayin Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. We're up to the words Meisvei. The thing we left off with is a machlokus between Rav and Shmuel. I want to preface today's Gemara by telling you that there seems to be a little bit of difficulty in some of the text of today's Gemara. I don't know exactly how to reconcile all the language. We'll do the best as we can. Sometimes in Maseches Taanis you do encounter that. Sometimes certain texts are not as well preserved as others. In any event, the Gemara's question, as far as the machlokus between Rav and Shmuel, we had seen yesterday the machlokus is as follows. When you have a paragraph that's only 5 psukim long and you need to fit 2 people into that paragraph, so according to Rav, you're medaleg, which means you have the first aliyah do aleph, beis, and gimel, and you have the second aliyah do gimel, dalet, and hey. And according to Shmuel, you're posek, which means you have the first aliyah do aleph, beis, and half of gimel up to the esnachta, and then you have the second aliyah do the second half of gimel, and then dalet and hey. So the Gemara is going to ask a question according to both opinions. The Gemara's question is meisvei, parsha shel shisha psukim koren osa b'shnayim, that if you have a paragraph of 6 psukim, you can easily divide it into 2 aliyahs. V'shel chamisha, but if you have a paragraph that's 5 psukim, harishon korei gimel, hasheni korei shnayim miparsha zu ve'echad miparsha acheres. Now, there's a bit of a discrepancy in the girsa. The Bach changes the girsa that way, but the girsa as it appears before us, v'shel chamisha biyachid, that if you have a parsha of 5 psukim, then one person really should lechatchila read that aliyah. V'im harishon korei gimel, and if it turns out that the first guy only read 3 psukim, so then what do? What does the second guy do? So then, that's the girsa that we have in front of us. The Bach changes it for reasons that will become apparent in a moment. So then, Hasheni korei shnayim miparsha zu ve'echad miparsha acheres. Then the next aliyah reads the 2 remaining psukim from this parsha and 1 additional pasuk from the next paragraph. V'yesh omrim gimel, and some say he should read 3 from the next paragraph. Lefi she'ein maschilim beparsha pachos mishlosha psukim, because you're not allowed to leave only 1 pasuk read from a new paragraph. Once you start the new paragraph, you have to do 3 psukim. For the same reason that we saw before, because of the people that may just now be coming in, and they'll see that this guy is starting the next aliyah from the second pasuk, they'll think the previous guy had only 1 pasuk. Now, Leman do'amar doleg lidlog, Leman do'amar posek livsok. So the Gemara's question is as follows. Why is it that the second guy getting the aliyah should have to open up with the next paragraph? According to what we just learned before, according to Rav, just have him, if there's 5 psukim in the first paragraph, and the first guy read aleph, beis, and gimel, then just have the second guy read gimel, dalet, and hey. And if the first guy read, that's according to Rav, and according to Shmuel, let's just stop the guy in the middle of the pasuk, and he's going to read aleph, beis, and gimel, and then let's have the second guy read the second half of gimel, and then read dalet and hey. That's the question. So the Gemara says, Shaini Hasam de Isle Revacha. The answer is, says the Gemara, that in the example that's being provided by the Brisa, there's no limitation as far as how much you can read. And since there's no limitation as far as how much you could read, you don't lose anything by going into the next paragraph. That's certainly preferable according to everybody than having to either cut the pasuk in half or to go back and repeat a pasuk, right? So in a situation where you're limited because you're only reading the first 2 paragraphs of Genesis, or it's a Rosh Chodesh reading and you're limited to how much reading you can have, so then you have a situation where you have to either cut a pasuk in half or you have to repeat a pasuk that the last guy did. But if you're not limited, which is the case of the Brisa, you can continue reading and you go into the next paragraph. There's no problem going into the next paragraph, so then that's certainly preferable.
Rabbi, according to the opinion that you can split the middle pasuk, he doesn't have a complete. Neither of them will have a complete pasuk.
That was the Gemara's kasha on Shmuel. So the Gemara had answered that according to Shmuel, that's acceptable. You're allowed to split it when there's no other option. You can split a pasuk in half according to Shmuel.
Many times after repeated.
So maftir is only repeated because it's not part of the standard reading. Maftir is repeated because it's to indicate to you that it's an ancillary reading to the main Torah reading. But under normal circumstances, you're right, Mr. Guda, but under normal circumstances, it's better not to repeat the Torah reading. Next, Parsha Gedola Koren Osa Bishnayim B'Shachris Uvemusaf Uvemincha Koren Alpihen Chulei. There was an ambiguity in the language of the Mishnah because the first phrase implied that you're supposed to read from the Torah at all of the prayer services that you're reciting from the first chapter of Bereshis. But then it had said at the end of the statement you recite it Ba'al Peh, you recite it verbatim, outside of the text. So the question is, how do you understand this Mishnah? So Ibayalu, this is the source of the Gemara's uncertainty. Heichi Ka'amar, how do you read the Mishnah? B'shachris uvemusaf koren osa b'sefer uvemincha koren osa al peh koren eshama o dilma hachi ketani b'shachris koren osa b'sefer uvemusaf uvemincha koren osa al peh koren eshama. So the uncertainty is like this. It says you're supposed to read from a Sefer Torah in Shachris and in Musaf, and in Mincha you read it ba'al peh. So where do you put the comma? Do you put the comma at you read from the Torah at Shachris and Musaf, and at Mincha you read it ba'al peh, or do you put the comma like this? You read from the Torah at Shachris, and at Musaf and Mincha you read it ba'al peh. So which one is it? So the Gemara answers Tashma Detanya b'Shachris uvemusaf nichnasin lebeis hakneses v'korin kederech shekorin kol hashana uvemincha yachid korin osa al peh. So the Brisa clarifies, and it says for both Shachris and Musaf you take out the Sefer Torah and you read it, and only at Mincha you read it ba'al peh, you read it outside, you recite it outside. Amar Rabbi Yossi v'chi yachid yachol likros divrei Torah al peh b'tzibor. So Rabbi Yossi challenges that. How can you tell me that the Shliach Tzibor recites words from the Torah ba'al peh without reading it from a Sefer Torah in order to be motzi everyone? That we don't normally allow. We don't normally allow a person to recite verbatim psukim from Tanakh, especially if he's being motzi everyone. So Ella kula nichnasin v'koren osa al peh koren hashema. But rather, says Rabbi Yossi, that everyone should recite it like they're reciting the Shema. We don't allow an individual to be motzi other people if he's reciting biblical text ba'al peh. Okay, kol yom sheyesh bo halal ein bo ma'amad chulei. Now, the Mishnah had said that on any day when there's a recitation of Hallel, so there's additional liturgy, then there's no special ma'amad service. Now, I want to clarify what this means, going back to the Mishnah, because this caused me great confusion when I first read it. So I want to just go back to the Rashi on the Mishnah. If you don't go back to DAF Chavav Amud Aleph, Rashi tells us that what the Mishnah means when it says that on any day when there's a Hallel inserted in the davening, like it's Chanukah, for example, when we say Hallel, so there's not going to be Ma'amid liturgy on that day. Now, what does that mean? So Rashi explains, Kol Yom Sheyesh Bo Hallel Ein Bo Ma'amad B'Shacharis Osan Shahayu B'Yerushalayim. It's referring to the delegation that's in Jerusalem, in the Beis HaMikdash. Lo Hayu Mispalelin Al Korban Achayim Sheyesh Bo Hallel. They would not daven the special liturgy for the Korban when there's Hallel being recited that day. Lefisha Ein Lahem Pinai La'asos Ma'amadam, because they're not going to have time to schlep to the Beis HaMikdash and stand over the Korban and pray. She Koren es Hallel, because they're in the midst of their prayers, their own personal prayers, reciting Hallel. Umipnei ha'Hallel ha'yudochen es ha'ma'amad, and because of Hallel, they would tell them it's not necessary for you to be present to say your special prayers over the Korban for your brethren. Now, and Rashi says the same thing as well. And he says in the next Rashi, he says, if there's any day where there's Musaf being added, then what is the halacha? There's no ma'amad at Mincha. There's a machlokas between Rabbi Akiva and Ben Azai, and so we end up in the final analysis going like Ben Azai, that any time that there's a korban musaf, ein b'mincha, there's no special ma'amad at mincha, and whenever there's a korban eitzim, there's no special ma'amad at ne'ilah. So Rashi explains Korban Musaf, Yom Sheyesh Bo Korban Musaf b'Yerushalayim, on a day when they were offering a Korban Musaf in Jerusalem, Ein Bo Ma'amad b'Ne'ila b'Yerushalayim. Well, he's going according to Rabbi Akiva, but we'll switch that around. There's no Ma'amad service at Mincha in Yerushalayim. V'kol shekain b'Mincha hasmucha l'musaf l'fisha yutrudim b'musaf. And the reason why we exempted these people from their Ma'amad service is because they're so involved in taking care of the needs of the Korban Musaf. Sheyesh bo la'akruv behemos yoser mitamid. Because there are additional animals for them to offer, more than the Korban Tamid. Shehu echad ein lecha musaf below shtei behemos v'lo yom panai klal. And therefore people didn't have time. There's too many animals that have to be offered, and everyone's busy. Everyone's busy working in the Beis HaMikdash. Kohanim shel ma'amad terudim b'musaf. The Kohanim of that ma'amad are engrossed in the avoda of the Musaf sacrifice. The Yisrael shebahen hayutrudim lachtov eitzim v'lishov mayim. And the Yisraelim that are present are chopping wood, and they're drawing water, and they're doing all of these other labors, v'doicha afilu ma'amad d'ne'ila. And therefore they're exempt from appearing for their special liturgical service, liturgical prayers of standing by the korban. Now, what are you going to do with the imperative that there has to be a delegation or representation present? The Mishnah doesn't answer that question. Apparently, it may only be an asmachta, and therefore, if there's an overriding concern of people being too busy, we were allowed to dispense with that requirement. But in any event, you need to understand that that's what the Mishnah means when it says that there's no special liturgy. The people in Haifa are still davening on days when there's musaf, and on days when there's the eitzim special sacrifice. They're still davening their special liturgy. It's the people, the delegation that's in Jerusalem, only that we're exempting, okay? So anyway, ma hefresh ben zeh. So the question that the Gemara is first asking is, why is it that according to Ben Azai, on days when there's a korban musaf being brought, we exempt you from the special maimad at mincha, and on days when the korban eitzim is brought, we exempt you from the maimad at ne'ilah? So the Gemara answers, halalu divrei Torah v'halalu divrei sofrim. So the Gemara answers, at musaf is a biblical requirement. It corresponds to it's a korban that is, the Torah says you have to bring on Shabbos and on Rosh Chodesh and so forth, and therefore because it is very important, it has the ability to override a prayer service at mincha, which is also a biblical prayer because mincha was instituted by Yitzchak Avinu. However, the korban eitzim, which is only a post-biblical law, it's instituted by the Nevi'im at the times of the Vayesheni, so then it is only a rabbinic requirement, and therefore it only overrides a special liturgical service that's taking place at Ne'ilah, which is also a rabbinic prayer. Ne'ilah is a rabbinic prayer according to all opinions, because it doesn't correspond to any biblical sacrifice or any biblical patriarch who instituted it. Okay, so that's the general attitude that the Gemara has now, is that when there's a korban musaf being brought, the people of the Maimed in Yerushalayim do not have to appear at mincha, and the day when the korban eitzim is being brought, the people in Yerushalayim do not have to appear at Ne'ilah. Okay, let us go weiter. Zman atze kohanim v'ha'am v'chulei. So then the Mishnah had told us that there are 9 special holy days or celebratory days in the year when there are something called the korban eitzim, when people give donations of wood to the Beis HaMikdash. Tanu Rabbanan, Lama hutzruchu lomar zman atze kohanim v'ha'am. So why is it necessary to create these days, that only these days are people able to bring wood gifts to the temple? So Amru Kish'olu b'nei Hagol lo matzu eitzim belishka. So the Brisa gives us the historical background. When the Jews came from Bavel to build the second temple, and the second temple was built, and it was time to now bring the first karbanos, they couldn't find wood for the altar. So and there was no wood in the woodshed. Va'amdu elu v'hisnadvu mishelahem. So these 9 families, or these whatever number of families, came forward and they donated their own wood. And so therefore, based on their donations, the Nevi'im made a policy, and they said, that even if the woodshed of the temple is filled with wood, we still allow these people to come forth and donate their wood, and we will accept their wood for the ma'aracha. Shenamar, as it says, and this is in Nehemiah where it talks about the institution of the wood gifts, it says, "V'hagorolos hipalnu al korban ha'etzim ha'kohanim v'halaviyim v'ha'am," that we placed lots over the wood donations for the Kohanim, the Levim, and the nation, la'avila beis Elokeinu lebeis avoseinu, to bring to the house of our Lord and to the house of our ancestors, le'ita mizumanim shana v'shana, at set times, from year to year, leva'er al mizbach Hashem Elokeinu kakosuf b'Torah, to burn on the altar of God as it is written in the Torah. Okay. Let's go on. V'imohem kohanim u'levim v'cholmi v'chulei. So the Mishnah had said that on the 15th of Av, this was a special day. It was the day when the family of Zata ben Yehuda would be able to bring their wood gift. But we also allowed Kohanim and Leviim and anyone else who did not know what tribe he came from, they could bring their wood on that day. And also, who else came with them? B'nei Gunvi Eli u'b'nei Kotzei Kitzios. B'nei Gonvei Ali and B'nei Kotzei Kitzios are strange terms. And now we have to explain who these people were, who were able to bring their wood on the 15th of Av. Tanu Rabbanan, Ma hayu b'nei Gonvei Ali u'b'nei Kotzei Kitzios. Who were these people? Amru Pam Echas Gas. Now, literally, the words Gonvei Ali, the people who steal the cleaver or steal the chopping knife, and B'nei Kotzei Kitzios are the people who dismantle or chop up the pieces. So, what does this mean? Once upon a time, the evil government, it's either referring to Greece or Rome, they made a gezerah al Yisrael shelo yaviu eitzim lema'aracha v'shelo yaviu bikurim liYerushalayim. So they made a decree that the Jews could not bring wood for the altar, and they could not bring their first fruits to Jerusalem. V'hoshivu pruzdos al hadrachim kederech shehoshiv Yeravam ben Nevat shelo yalu Yisrael l'regel. And they therefore put up sentries on the road to stop people. Like when you go through customs, right? They stop you and ask you what you got on you, right? So these sentries did the same, and they would, anyone who was bringing fresh fruit or wood and going towards Jerusalem, they would stop them and turn them around. And they did this in the same way that Yeravam ben Nevat, who was the king of the north part of Israel, did to prevent his fellow Jews from making a pilgrimage to the temple in the southern part of Israel in Judea. Ma asu kisherin shaba'oso hador v'yirei chet. So what did the God-fearing and the proper people of that generation do? Heviu salei bikurim v'chifim b'kitzios. They brought baskets of their fresh first fruits, and they covered them in chopped figs, figs that were cut already in pieces. V'natlum va'ali al kasvehom. And apparently there's like two stages. First you break the fig apart, and then you mash it and turn it into a cake of figs. And so v'kevin shehigiu eitzel pruzdos, so they put these chopped figs on top to make it look like the whole basket was filled with chopped figs. And when they got to the centuries, amru lahem lahechan atem holchem, they said, where do you think you're going with that? Omrim lahem laso shnei igulei devela b'machtesha shelefanenu uba'ali shal ksafenu. So they said, well, right down the road, to your left or to your right, there's this place where we there's a factory where we make fig cakes. And the mortar is there for us to mash the figs, and we brought our own chopping knives to help in the process. So we're just going down the road, right? So Kevin sha'avru mehem itrum besalam ve'vim l'Yerushalayim. So as soon as they got past the centuries, they removed the chopped figs on the top layer, they adorned their baskets with fresh fruits, and they brought them to Yerushalayim. So this is the first history of Jews smuggling goods from one place to another. Unfortunately, people think that they can use this Gemara as a way of finding a heter for any time. It's only when there's religious persecution. What? It's only when there's religious persecution. You can't use this Gemara to get out of paying tariffs and taxes.
But
right?
It is something they could stand on, saying, look, we did it.
We did it when they were religious. We didn't do it to pad our pockets. We did it
we could not
to do a mitzvah.
To steal for religious things.
That's right. This is not a heter to put diamonds in your tefillin. Okay.
Was the bikurim underneath the figs, like they were hiding it, or they got?
That's right. They were hiding the bikurim underneath the figs. Tana hein hein b'nei salmoi hanetufti. So the Brisa says this is also what the b'nei salmoi netufti did also. Now, who are these people? It means the people of the ladders of netufti. Now, what does that refer to? Tana Rabbanan Mahin b'nei Salmoi hanatufti Amru Pamechas Gazra Hamalchus Gezer al Yisrael shelo yaviu eitzim l'ma'aracha. Same thing. They made a decree that you couldn't bring wood for the altar. V'hoshivu pruzdos al hadrachim kederch shahoshiv Yeravim ben Nevat al hadrachim shelo yalu Yisrael l'regel. They put sentries on the road to stop anyone with wood, just like Yeravim ben Nevat would stop people from making a pilgrimage. Ma asu yirei chet sheba oso hador heviu gizrein v'asu sulamos. So the God-fearing people, what they did was they took wood and they made ladders out of the wood, right? And they put the ladders on their shoulders and started walking towards Jerusalem. They get to the sentries say, where do you think you're going? So they said, oh, just down the block, there is a big dove coop, and in order for us to get the doves out of the coop, we got to climb up ladders. So we brought the ladders with us. That's all. Once they got past the sentries, they dismantled the ladders into the original wood, and they brought it to Yerushalayim as firewood. And about such people who evade the authorities in order to fulfill the mitzvah, it says that the memory of the righteous is for a blessing. And about Yeravim ben Nevat and his friends, it says, the names of the wicked shall rot. Now, Be'esrim bo b'nei Pachas Moav ben Yehuda. Now, the Mishnah had said that on the 20th of Av, that was the day of b'nei Pachas ben Yehuda. Now, Pachas Moav ben Yehuda. Tana b'nei Pachas Moav ben Yehuda, Hein b'nei David ben Yehuda divrei Reb Meir. So the Brisa says that this name of the family is none other than the family of David, which already had gotten a day earlier in the month of Av. So they really are getting 2 days. The day that is mentioned for David HaMelech's family, and B'nai Pachas Moav is also David HaMelech's family. Why are they called B'nai Pachas Moav? Because it means literally the descendants of the lowly Moabite family. And David HaMelech comes from Rus, Moaviyah. So it's just another way of describing David HaMelech's family. Rabbi Yossi Omer Hein Hein B'nai Yoav ben Tzvi. Rabbi Yossi disagrees and he says, no, this is from the family of Yoav ben Tzruya, who was David's general because he was also David's nephew. So he too was descended from Rus HaMoaviyah. Ve'esrim ve'elul b'nei Adin ben Yehuda v'chulei. On the 20th of Elul was the day of Adin, the family of Adin ben Yehuda. So Adin, Tana Rabbanan b'nei Adin ben Yehuda, Hein b'nei David ben Yehuda, Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Now Rabbi Yehuda says that Adin ben Yehuda is none other than David HaMelech. Why is he called Adin? So the Gemara says that he was called Adin in Tanakh because when he went to learn Torah in the Beis Medrash, he became a delicate, sensitive man. And when he went out to war, he became as hard as wood. So the word adin means soft and delicate, like a worm. Like he was pliable like a worm. In other words, he walks into the Beis Medrash with humility, studies Torah with humility, sitting before the Ribbon Shalom. But once he went out to war, he was a fierce warrior. So that's why he's called adin. And Rabbi Yossi Omer Hein Hein b'nei Yoav ben Tzruya. And Rabbi Yossi says, no, it's not David HaMelech's family on the 20th of Elul, it's the family of Yoav ben Tzruya. Now let's figure this out. According to Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, David HaMelech's family got 2 days. It's just a machlokas what that other day was. According to Rabbi Meir, it's the 20th of Av, and according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's the 20th of Elul. According to Rabbi Yossi, of both brises, Yoav ben Tzruya also got 2 days. According to the first brise, he got the 20th of Av, and according to the second brise, he got the 20th of Elul. So according to everyone, either David got 2 days or Yoav's family got 2 days. So this is going to raise the Gemara's next question. The Mishnah said explicitly that on the first of Teves, the family of Parosh, who had already been given a day back in Av, were given a second day. And the question is as follows: Moni mas nisan lo Reb Meir v'lo Reb Yehuda v'lo Reb Yossi. Then it turns out that our Mishnah, who only specifies that B'nai Parosh got a second day, doesn't seem to go like any of the aforementioned opinions in the two brises we just learned. Because Rabbi Meir listening Shavu b'nei David ben Yehuda shniya, Rabbi Yehuda listening Shavu b'nei David ben Yehuda shniya, Rabbi Yossi listening Shavu b'nei Yov ben Sruya shniya. Because according to the previous brises, if you go like Rabbi Meir, David got a second day. If you hold like Rabbi Yehuda, David got a second day. And if you hold like Rabbi Yossi, of both brises, Yov ben Sruya also had 2 days. And how come the Mishnah only says that the family of Parosh got a second day, and it doesn't say it's the same by David and by Yoav? So the Gemara says, La'olam Rabbi Yossi, u'trei tanoi aliba de Rabbi Yossi. Answers the Gemara, really our Mishnah goes like Rabbi Yossi. But you notice that Rabbi Yossi was cited in 2 different brises. In the first brisa, Rabbi Yossi is cited as saying that the family of Bnei Pachas Moav is Yoav's family. And in the second brisa, he's cited as saying that the family of Adin ben Yehuda is the family of Yoav ben Sruya. These 2 brises disagree as to what Rabbi Yossi held. According to Rabbi Yossi, Yoav ben Sruya's family only got 1 day. It's a machlokas between the 2 brises which day that was. And therefore, according to Rabbi Yossi, every family only got 1 day, except for that singular family of Parosh, which got 2 days. Okay, next. Ve'echas b'teves lo haya bo ma'amad. Now, the Mishnah had said that on the first of Teves, there was a lot of activity going on liturgically and sacrificially. And therefore, there was no ma'amad in Yerushalayim at all. Because remember, it's Chanukah, it's Rosh Chodesh. So you have Hallel, you have the Korban Musaf, you have the Korban Ha'etzim, it's the day of when people donating wood, and there's... so there's a lot of activity going on, and there's Ne'ilah on that day because this was the day when this was the time of the Mamad for the people who were davening for the Mamad. So therefore, if you were a member of the Ma'amad, so you were also davening Ne'ilah as well. So Amar Leimar Keshisha Bereda Rav Chisda Rav Ashi. So his question that he asked Rav Ashi is, Ma'ishna Halel Dedachi Didei, U'Ma'ishna Musaf Delo Dachi Didei. So my first question to you is, why is it that when there's Hallel being recited in Shacharis, we said that the people of the Maimed in Yerushalayim did not have to appear before the Korban in Shacharis? But they did have to appear for Musaf, they had to appear for Mincha, they had to appear for Ne'ilah. The only thing they were exempted from was appearing by the Korban at Shacharis because of the extra liturgy of Hallel. Why is it that Musaf does not override itself? We said in the Mishnah that Musaf only overrides Mincha, but it doesn't override itself. It sounds like from the Mishnah that they would have to appear for the Korban Musaf. So Amar Le Rav Ashi, Hashta Delav Didei Dachi, Didei Lo Kol Shekain. So Rav Ashi says to him, if it's overriding a prayer service other than itself, it surely overrides itself. Meaning that if we give a dispensation to the delegation in Jerusalem, that they don't have to appear by the Korban for Mincha, then surely, because of the Musaf that's being brought that day, then surely they don't have to appear for Musaf as well. That's what logic dictates. If they don't have to appear for an additional prayer service, then certainly for that prayer service they don't have to appear. So Amar Lei Hachi Kamin Alach. No, you don't understand what I'm asking you. What I'm asking you is, Lo Lidchi Eladidei. I'm asking you that just like they're given an exemption not to show up for Shacharis because they're reciting Hallel, they should also only be given an exemption for showing up at Musaf when there's a Korban Musaf being brought. Why are you giving them a further exemption of not having to show up for Mincha also? That doesn't seem to make any sense. So Amar Lei, Ika Rabbi Yossi Dekoi Kavasach. So Rav Ashi's response is, it seems like Rabbi Yossi is sympathetic to your position. Detanya Rabbi Yossi Omer Kol Yom Sheyesh Bo Musaf Yesh Bo Ma'amad. So Rabbi Yossi had said that any day where the Korban Musaf is being brought, the people of the Ma'amad still have to show up and stand over the Korbanos. So the question is, Maima Demai. Ilema Maima De Shacharis Satana Kama Nami Hachi Kamar. If you're going to tell me that they have to show up and be present by the Shacharis service to stand over the Korbanos, well, that everyone agrees to. So why is Rabbi Yossi telling me that if that's already agreed upon? Elamaima de Musaf didei nami lo dachi? Question mark. So what are you going to tell me? He means to say that they have to show up for the Korban Musaf sacrifice. If that, it seems that everyone would agree that they don't have to show up, because it seems quite self-evident that if they're involved in that Korban for that moment, they should be exempt from having to to do anything else liturgically. They have to be working in the Beis HaMikdash during that time, so therefore we exempt them from standing over the korban. So Ela de Mincha. So, and the Gra puts in the words Ela de Mincha Ne'ilah. So the only discussion that is left to discuss is, do they have to appear for the karbanos that are being offered at Mincha and at Ne'ilah? So Karban Eitzim Dachi, but there the Gemara says, but that's overridden. The Karban Eitzim also overrides that. So why does Rabbi Yossi say that it's such a chiddush that the Karban Musaf overrides the Karban Ne'ilah? Even the Karban Eitzim overrides Ne'ilah. Karban Eitzim Dachi, just why does Rabbi Yossi have to say that they have to appear for Mincha and for Ne'ilah if the rabbinic offering of Karban Eitzim exempts them from having to show up for Ne'ilah? So the Gemara's conclusion is, Elalav di Ne'ilah, Shma Mina, di de dachi, delav di de lo dachi, Shma Mina. So rather what you have to conclude is that what Rabbi Yossi is saying is that even though they have a lot of work to do in the Beis HaMikdash, and they're going to be exempt from having to show up for Musaf, they'll be exempt from having to show up at Mincha, but they won't be exempt from having to show up at Ne'ilah. And that's the point that Rabbi Yossi is saying, is that we will only exempt you minimally, we will not exempt you maximally. And therefore Rav Ashi was saying, even though the question that was raised to Rav Ashi is, why are the people who are working in the Beis HaMikdash for the Karban Musaf also exempt from showing up at Mincha? Rav Ashi says, you're right, there's a sympathy to that position, which is Rabbi Yossi, who says that they don't have to show up, that they have to show up for Ne'ilah, even though they don't have to show up for Mincha. Meaning that, according to Rabbi Yossi, we don't give them a carte blanche to take the rest of the day off. We do require them to show up for at least a portion of the day to finish off their ma'amad. It's not a granting of the question, because the question was, let them be required to show up at Mincha also. That Rav Ashi is not prepared to say, but he does say that Rabbi Yossi sympathizes with that sentiment, and that he does require them to show up at least for Ne'ilah. So now the Gemara asks another question. V'lisni nami be'echad b'nisan lahaya bo maimad mipnei sheyesh bo halal v'karban musaf v'karban eitzim. I have another question, says the Gemara. You told me that on the first of Teves, which had all of these activities going on, there was no requirement for the Bnei Mama to appear by the Karbanos in Yerushalayim. Why don't you tell me the first of Nisan as well? There was a lot of activity then also. Number one, it's Rosh Chodesh. So therefore there's Hallel they have to recite. Also there's a Karban Musaf, so they're busy working. And there's Karban Eitzim being brought on that day as well. So they're just as busy on the first of Nisan as they are on the first of Teves. The Gemara answers, Amarava Zos Omeres, Halela de Beresh Yarchav, Lav Deoraisa. The answer is because the Hallel that you say on Rosh Chodesh is not biblically mandated. Now let's just clarify what that means. It doesn't mean that Hallel on Hanukkah is biblically mandated because it's a rabbinic holiday in the first place. What it means is that the rabbis made a rule that anytime you want to celebrate a miracle, you have to say Hallel. That's a hard, inviolate rule of the Chachamim, which is called a deoraisa, which means it fits according to biblical precepts that whatever the Chachamim say, you have to follow, and it follows a pattern of when a miracle happens, you praise Hashem, right? On Hallel, there is no such rabbinic requirement to recite Hallel. It's only a minhag ba'alma, it's only a custom, and therefore, technically, since they're exempt from reciting Hallel, we're not going to give them a dispensation not to show up because they're davening Hallel. We could say to them, so don't daven Hallel, you're not required to. Instead, show up for your mamad, at least for a portion of the day. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Yehud Sadak, Shemona Asar Yom Bashana Yachid Gomer ben Esahal. And I'll prove it to you, because we have a brisa that says, quoting Rabbi Shimon ben Yehud Sadak, that there are 18 days out of the year where you have to say full Hallel. Ve'eluhein, and they are as follows. Shmonas Yemei HaChag, we're talking about in Eretz Yisrael now. The 8 days of Sukkot, including Shmini Atzeres, that's 8. Shmonas Yemei Chanukah, the 8 days of Chanukah, that's now 8 and 8 is 16. V'yam Tov Harishon Shal Pesach, the first day of Pesach, but not all the other days of Pesach, because the carbon is the same, so it's not as celebratory. So that's 17. And V'yam Tov Shal Atzeres, and the day of Shavuos, which is now 18. Uvagola, and outside of Eretz Yisrael, where we have a 2-day Yantiv Sheni Shel Golios, Esrim ve'echad yom, it's 21 days of Hallel. Ve'elohein Tishas Yemei HaChag, the 9 days of Sukkot, including Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah. Shmonas Yemei Chanukah, the 8 days of Chanukah, we're now up to 17. Shnei Yomim Harishonim Shel Pesach, the first 2 days of Pesach, we're now up to 19. Ubeis Yomim Tovim Shel Atzeres, another 2 days of Shavuos, which is now 21. And so therefore what you see from here is that why is Rosh Chodesh not included in this category? Because you're not goymer as a halal. You don't say full halal, you only say half halal. And the reason why you say half halal on Rosh Chodesh is to designate that it is only a custom to recite halal, but not a biblical or rabbinic requirement to recite halal. Now, that's why among the Sfardim they have a minhag to say halal without a bracha on Rosh Chodesh, or many Sephardic communities. Okay, Rav Iklu Labavel. What?
But the last days of Pesach.
Also only half Hallel. That's the same. Because of a minhag. I don't know what minhag Sfard is as far as the last days of Pesach. I don't know. But it would stand to reason based on this Gemara that it should also be without a bracha. Rav Iklu Labavel Chazinhu de Kakaru Halela Beresh Yarcha. So another illustration, Rav once went to Bavel and he sees the Jews there reciting Hallel on Rosh Chodesh. Savra la'afsukinu. He thought, wait a minute, this is not correct. They shouldn't be saying Hallel on Rosh Chodesh. But Kaven dechaz de kamedal gidelugi omer shmamina minagavoseim biyadehem. Once he saw that they were skipping, and they weren't saying full Hallel, but they were skipping major paragraphs in the middle, he saw, oh, this is only a minhag. It's not a real Hallel, and therefore they're not doing anything wrong. Tana, the Brisa now says, Yachid lo yaschel vim hischel goymer. The Brisa says something that we don't paskin like. It says that an individual who's reciting on Rosh Chodesh should not recite Hallel at all, because apparently the minhag of saying half Hallel was only to be done in a tzibur, in a congregation. And if he started it without knowing that he wasn't supposed to start it, we tell him to finish it. Why? Because apparently this idea of doing half Hallel was only instituted for a tzibur, was not instituted for an individual. So once the individual started it, he's got to finish it, because he doesn't have the right to say only half. Okay, let's finish off. Hey dvarim irus avosena b'shivas or b'tammuz chulei. The Mishnah had said that there were 5 tragedies that befell our ancestors on the 17th of Tammuz. The first one was nishtabru haluchos. The tablets were broken by Moshe. Minolan, from where do we know this? The Tanya b'shisha lechodesh nitnu aseres hadibros liYisrael. The Brisa, this is a famous Gemara in Maseches Shabbos, that there's a machlokus between the Chachamim and Reb Yossi as to when the 10 Commandments were given to the Jewish people. The Chachamim say on the 6th of Sivan, and Reb Yossi says B'Shiva, but Reb Yossi says the 7th of Sivan. A lot of very interesting Torah about this machlokus. Man domer b'shisha nitnu b'shiva ola Moshe. Man domer b'shiva nitnu b'shiva ola Moshe. If you learn that the 10 Commandments were given on the 6th of Sivan, then Moshe waited until the following day to ascend to Har Sinai on the 7th. And if you learn like Rabbi Yossi that the 10 Commandments were given on the 7th of Sivan, then Moshe on that self-same day went up to Har Sinai. But everyone agrees that it was on the 7th of Sivan that Moshe ascended to go up for 40 days and bring the tablets down. Dichsiv vayikra el Moshe bayom hashvi, as it says that God called to Moshe on the 7th day, and the Gemara here understands it to mean on the 7th day of Sivan. Uchesiv vayavo Moshe b'soche anan vayal el ahar vayihi Moshe b'har arba'im yom v'arba'im laila. It further states that Moshe went into the cloud cover on the mountain, and he was there for 40 days and 40 nights. So let's make the cheshbon. Esrim v'arba'a de Sivan v'shitzer de Tammuz malaluhu arboin. Now, what is 40 days and 40 nights? So he goes up on the 7th. Day 7 counts as the first of the 40 days. So you have 24 days of Sivan. And in order to get to the full 40, you have to do another 16 days of Tammuz. So it turns out that B'Shivser B'Tammuz Nachis, that Moshe Rabbeinu came down from the mountain on the 17th of Tammuz after the 40 days. Asa v'tavrina l'luchos, and he came down and he broke the luchos on that self-same day that he came down. Uchasiv, v'hi kashir karav el hamachane, v'yaras ha'egel, v'yashlech miyadav es-haluchos, v'yishaber osam tachas ahar. That it was that when Moshe came to the camp and he saw the calf, then he thrust down from his hands the tablets and he broke them at the foot of the mountain. So you see, therefore, that the tablets were broken on Shivas or B'Tammuz. We'll hold it here for today. You all have a wonderful day.